Hi, I'm still waiting for this pension fund from the parents and the UN. Of course we won. Listen to this, guys. Not only, again, did La Sapienza have an outpost where I was living on the first and second and fifth floors. All sciences. Okay. They fell with me. You understand that? So, if Italy falls with me in St. George's, Italians, because La Sapienza is knowledge, correct? Correct, Polish ladies and gents? Correct? Correct or not for the baby? Dad with the piece of paper, social security number Phoenix. Correct? Correct. So for two high schools in stupid times, which we can call schools, Woolwichers, I, was born in Rome, not in Polish land. In fact, I don't think Mama was born in Poland. Still, she has lands in Warsaw and in the eastern part of Poland, and her brother is the director of sciences and ag at Warsaw University for like 60 years. The same, I think, with the cousin. It's a cousin of Papa, who was the minister of sciences and ag in Cairo, Saudi. All right? So, this is the gist of the idea. All right? His father was a headmaster in 4 areas of Cairo. The father and the mother are peaceful. All right? They're not like me. All right? All right. Let's get this straight. All right? So, I'm born in Italy. The Italians crashed with me. They were saying something about a phenomenon in space. And they were speaking then about a phenomenon in sciences in St. George's. I'd been to 70 countries and 25 states, connecting the dots now because I'm dead with that piece of paper DELF national ID. Correct? Correct. Simple. They call me the baby, the smurf, the whatever. And those 70 countries and 25-30 states, they remember the girl with a white uniform and a Glock in the CIA. Because intelligence usually has, the Navy, Woolwichers, usually have white uniforms. Okay? They don't have the green ones of the Army. All right? Or the black ones of Special Forces, polices. All right? Okay. So, in those 70 countries and 30 states, they were saying that it was all personal jealousy to my face, which I vomiting because I never accepted the word jealousy. Jealousy to me is a construct. I used to look at the feelings of people, like animals. So to me, when I died and got back to Delft Bessel and became a little baby with no teeth in genetic freak schools of the UN, I said, you shouldn't be here, shit. There's emptiness everywhere because you died. That's when I realized that with time, I learned that jealousy exists. Truly exists. The Italians were jealous, and they showed that to me even in gymnastics. The Italian girls were saying, this girl is jealous of you, and this girl is jealous of you. So, why did I train for 6 to 8 to 10 hours a day as a gymnast with Misha Klimenko in Rome? For the Italian Federation. Because I didn't see no Polish lady do that. Oh man, did you? Sports for Health for the retarded baby with the ass-wiped Del Peso in Italy? Am I correct? I wasn't training to be a champion. I was doing coulda, woulda, shoulda for sports. Now, in St. George's, I trained, but I trained to be fit. Why? As aimed before, and stupid times. Why? I was called the Men in Black child in St. George's. So La Sapienza, the annex of sciences, not literature, sciences. Now it's closed. It's empty. Why don't you ask Tiziano Vian why it's empty? This was on the 5th floor. First, second, 5th floor. In Rome. There's old news on the news. I'm dead already, so I'm just telling you the story, which offends the people in Poland and offends the people in Lubsko because they didn't do it. They didn't lift their asses from Lubsko, Poland. They didn't lift their asses in Poland. They didn't do shit. And I died, and they know why, and they don't care. Because they didn't lift a finger to help me in Italy. They didn't lift a finger to help me in London. They didn't lift a finger to help me in NASA, breaking the space records in ESA. They didn't help me on 85 when there were problems. And when I died, they started being the bitches that Fresno County is for the parents on retirements. That's what's famous. Beyond compare, and I didn't know that. And they think I'm going to shut up about it because and that's not mentioning unheard of Bigfoot Familia, that many flyings and runnings around the capital cities on 92 and above, which was accepted because the work was done elsewhere on the coastlines, not Kangoo, not an island, and on 85, they saw in Italy. Yes. They were preparing for the crash. The La Sapienza scientists, who are Italian. And I'm not Italian. Correct? Polish ladies and gents? That's what's famous, yes? Good. And I didn't know that. Okay. Let's go on, asswipe piece of paper, Delph. Let's continue. Forevers and evers, Bruder. So the Italians showed that. They said, my goodness, this is a phenomenon in space. Now she's a phenomenon in sciences. And she's in the navies. Correct? She's in the Woolwich's, where they have all the sciences from the UN, the corporations in St. George's. Correct? Like Rome. Correct? Oh, we, in our heads again, jealous. Polish. Huh? But ugly, no teeth. Change your face, huh? This is not my face. Did you see my intelligence? Before I was populated, and I came back as a phoenix with a Del Pesel from New England. Difficulty post factum or post factum for the family? Under the big for DOJs. Too difficult for you on Plupsko, huh? Too difficult to fame. You think I liked fame? You think I liked Hollywood with that shit? But you can't even get to Hollywood in Poland. Why? You're angry that it's famous? That you couldn't be bitches to me in Poland? You're angry that you couldn't do what you did? I don't care for your Pole exit or Article 7. It wouldn't make a fucking difference. It wouldn't make a fucking difference if you had a right wing or a left wing in Poland. Tusk or peace? Listen to Piotr Pritel. Learn. Learn the basics on TVs around the world about Polish. This is how you lose intelligence. You lose intelligence because you don't put the effort. It's not a question of sacrificing yourself. It's a question of having an aim. All right? Like Hooker sat New England where I was naturalized. All right? First of all, you know the parents are going on retirements in Fresno County Dalles. You know that they're naturalized in New York State, and later on they got the passports in California. You know that, correct? Good. You know that the girl is from New England, correct? Primary states, correct? Primary. Because the vote of New Hampshire or Maine or one of those is worth $1 trillion more than the whole state of California or Texas even. They're primary states. When New England makes a vote, everybody go, whoa. And that's just for the politics. Not for New York and California. Different beast, different animal, different machine and cheap buses. And I'm not a Green Party German. I realize that the Lubsko crowd and the Polish crowd hate me. And that pick at straws, even with a baby that's dead, because they hate my ass. And they showed that. So, considering that the behavior of the people is like that, we are co-acted accordingly. For the nation of Poland. So, the girl is born in Italy. She does phenomenon in space. And later on, she does phenomenon in sciences. And she dies doing her job in Hooker set. All right? On the coastlines. Not Kangoo. No. She gets the Social Security number, DELF. She goes to genetic freak schools in the United Nations in Rome. And everybody of these genetic freaks and others in the UN of these kids say to you, yo, baby, shouldn't be here. You special. You real special. Because of your death, baby, there's so much fucking emptiness around the world. I heard this when I was 5 years old. That's old news on the news, correct? All right. Whether it's BBC or Channel 4 or Mr. Judd or whatever, NBC, the father of Larquin. This is old news. And they talk to me about it since I'm a child. Sometimes they even come to the house, newspapers or others. They tell me, and I don't want to, being dead, being a piece of paper. I don't have the pretenses, do I? It's like, what the fuck? I'm dead. I'm a piece of paper. I have no teeth. I'm a baby. I'm an angel. I'm see-through. Oh, where's the uniform? Where's the clock? And 70 countries and 30 states, flying runnings. It's gone. Where's the brain? It's gone. Correct? Correctamundo one day, one night. Without any defense from the CIA. It was only intel work. So this is known, for me alone, around the world. And they say it was tragic in itself because to have such kind of intelligence become a type or a known or whatever, baby, a dude, a person, a heiny, whatever, was bad enough. Because they knew what that intelligence had truly done on the coastlines in Southeast Asia and the other countries around the world. And connecting the dots nowadays. They knew what that baby was doing, that idiot, whatever. That Madame Tussauds, that statue, that freak, that Malaysia, crying game, baby. In other words, the freak. So much for paranoia for hell. So they all knew that. And they call me, what they call them, the average exes. Even if it is a particular exes out there, taken sons. That's old news. And they have these buildings whether they're in Cairo or Saudi Arabia or Russia or Southeast Asia or Rome or London or the East Coast or West Coast or Zambia. You can call them John and Tex. You can call them lookalikes. You can call them inner circle lookalikes. In other words, what crashed with me are these inner circles. And that's why they are lookalikes, okay, lookalikes of me within the Woolwichers and their professors or non-professors or in Rome or in those countries or in the CIA. Because the work was elsewhere around the world, correct? Correct. Not in Poland. Poland is sitting there on his fat ass speaking how great they are in Harvard and Polish intelligentsia Warsaw University publishings. And I'm going, what the fuck? I'm looking at the desolation around the world. I'm not looking at little fucking Kangoo. I didn't work on the island. No, I worked on the coastlines. I didn't work in an island. My intelligence was born in Italy in the United Nations. The corporations are not in Woolwich. Do you think that Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Elon Musk's, Physics, and all those guys, the directorates, are British? No, they're American. There are UN corporations in St. George's, which are not British. Some of them are related to British, yes. Woolwich is a base of especially Woolwich, where the MI5, MI6 is based. They are highly intelligent, highly advanced British. And if you have some unnatural talent, call it talent, in spacers or sciences or something, they gladly welcome you there. They say, oh yeah, we helping you. Do something else. That's, I think, known, isn't it? About UK residency or UK something. It's not that you're an immigrant or some Polish immigrant coming into England and, I would like to stay Brexit or I'm be British. I would like to stay in London or Birmingham or Manchester or London, So that was St. George's, all right? For me, not for the parents. That's what's famous. Now, when we speak about crashes, I was speaking about the uniforms and the Glocks of St. George's and before, which is flyings, runnings with the Glocks around the world. Is that the crashes? Or are you speaking about the true crash, which is the dead baby, Madame Tussauds, or whatever you want to call it, the Indios, the Phoenix? That's me. Okay? So when you see why it happened, all right, and how it happened in those 70 countries and 30 states, whether I say it on Facebook or not for the children is not important because it's known with the bestseller. Okay? The asswipe. The assistant of the assistant of the assistant of all those generals, whether it's the East Coast or the West Coast. All right? Where I touch base with them or I spend time with them. All right? For me alone. They know. They're not stupid. That's the CIA. They're not the Polish. I'm Polish. I want to go to CIA. You're Peskovsky, you are. Mass media. He wasn't the CIA general of Peter Peanut. There are many. But they're not the ones with the Nobel Prizes. Not Peskovsky. Okay, my friend. So if somebody rehashes a dead intelligentsia like me with a piece of paper asswipe dealt for a short period of time in Rome, that was born in Rome, then it shows something to the world, correct? To the intel world. So they look at the personal history form, file, profile, whatever you look at, okay? What did it do? It did this in those countries and this. That's book closed. A star became a black hole, as much as I don't like saying that. And it is, colloquially, an inner circle with lookalikes, ghosts taken ages ago that is nowhere near me or the family. It's what we call the suns taken. The suns. All right? And I can't change that. Nobody can change that because the original intel is dead. Okay? And I got that social security number dealt. So I get these 10,000 Nobel Prize love letters from Netherlands, Italians, La Sapienzaers, locals, friends in school, elementary, primary schools, middle school, high school. I thought, and I truly will admit to you, my entire existences, I thought I was unpopular. Explain. Before, I was the best of the best, and I know that. Both on 92 and above, and even on 85 and above. But it never, there was a certain way of behaving, all right? And that behavior was, you do, and that's it. You know, you go where you have to go. You do what you have to do. It's a set. They know it. They see it. They prepare. They work. That's work of intel. It's not a question of going to Harvard and publishing. You can go to Harvard and publish, but if you die, nothing's going to happen. Same at Warsaw University. That was the big fuss about the child that died. The emptinesses. So, that's what they made famous with the Delft Pencil. I got all the goddamn motherfucking blessings from every religion on the planet because you fucking need it and you don't have a brain. Fuck, we're going Dalai Lama with you too. You little tick. Insect, whatever. So, that's what they're saying. Okay, that's what's famous. You see, I cannot change the Delft piece of paper. I cannot change what happened. And I cannot change the lookalikes anymore. The crashers that crashed with me. Whether it was in La Sapienza in Italy, whether it was in Woolwich, whether it was in the other countries, whether it was in ESA, the Italians, or whether it was in NASA. What happened. You understand? Okay? What they were angry about was the emptiness that was caused by the death of intelligence. In other words, if I had stayed alive, those buildings would be open and not empty. Now they're empty because I'm dead. With a Delft national ID. And that's old news on the news. And I am not going to be offended all the time by a neighbor here who wanted my death on the first day by a psychopath. A real psychopathic killer who is suicidal 25 times in his life since the age of 5. And spent 20 years in also prison for killing 2 Polish guys in Iraq. And stalked me to Woolwich when I was screaming about the mother in Woolwich. Screaming. I wouldn't say screaming, but you get the idea. So, yeah, Kent Lodge. And the thing is this. I had the memories. All of those areas had the memories of this guy. When I was literally crawling out homeless for the mother. Okay. And the hate that was shown. And you see, it's almost like, you know, they called me Halle Berry. Why? Before, I didn't have men. Okay. Nah, with the uniform and the Glock, I didn't have almost any men. Even with the Morgana Gist, it was just flyings and runnings. I didn't have time to shit, piss, or fart in those 70 countries and 30 states. Nah, in St. George's. Correct? Because that's the visual in Italy, in London, in the other country, big city capitals, the East Coast, Texas, the West Coast, other countries, Southeast Asia, and the other countries I lived in. They saw that. Okay. So now that I died and been phoenixed with the Delft Bessel, and they call me the baby, or the Madame Tussauds, or whatever they call me, the one with the culo de Forest, as Carlo Verdone would say, with the Delft national ID, the people in Poland reacted how the rest of Europe showed them. That's the Polish. Poland. That's all it is. All right? And that's why, you see, I did have boyfriend. Oh my goodness, when I was in South Korea, Gangnam Style, in 2009, I tried to go to nightclubs, have one night stands. People were jumping out the window, literally. I got 3 knickers from 3 Koreans who were like, oh shit, I made a mistake. What do you think? You're too fat and hairy. I remember something. What? No. Oh, what the fuck? I've never seen anything like that. I was like 33 years old. They were making jokes out of it. I mean, I had literally become a kumpel. The baby who had died had become a kumpel worldwide. I'd become like the mass media of everything. Plus what's happening at Fresno Cancer now. They went nuts. In other words, they had treated me literally, not like the mass media, but they had seen the death of a great intel, of a big intel. And they had decided that if that girl has turned overnight into a baby with no teeth in yours, we might as well fucking say it for what it is. The internal thing with Peter Benev and the CIA agents. Peter Benev is best friends with Gabor, with no eyebrows. That's the lowlands. You can't even get to Gabor in Poland with his Nobel Prizes. You can't get to those crashers. You can't get to those emptinesses after my death. My death, not yours. That's why I have the Delft Bessel. You can erase me, but the Bessel is a federal number. It's a record. You can't even live with the record saying the story of that girl around the world. In Polish. In Lubsko. Why? Why in 70 countries and 30 states I didn't have a problem once I died with the Bessel? Only in Poland. In Lubsko. With the Polish greatnesses. Why? That's what's famous. That's the jealousy, personal jealousy that they were speaking about. In 70 countries and 30 states to a poor child with no teeth with the Delft piece of paper. National ID, federal. And that's without all that sciences or spaces or internal job or coastline jobs or this around the world. Just a mite, a dust mite, soon erased. And don't speak to me about the lookalikes. They won't go anywhere near the Polish. They'll go Russian, they'll work with the Brits, they'll work with the UN, they'll go even with the US. They'll drop you. You lost your intelligence due to your lack of work. You didn't fall with the Italians in La Sapienza, with me in St. George's, as a child of growing up. That's the truth. That's what's famous. And that's old news on the news. And they still follow me, the news channels. And I have to run away from them. And they say, no, we have to remind you about this shit. Don't go crazy. That's is how you behave. You allow yourself to jump to conclusions, snap judgments, because you never went near that shit in your life. That's like the gossip column in Poland. Hate, jealousy. Shit, you're giving more fire to the fire here in Poland with that stupidity level. You give any, oh, she's mixed with Turkish. You okay? Oh, she's the Antichrist. Oh, Catholic, blessing. It makes them feel good inside. But they themselves inside hate me. These are the reactions of backward people. These are backward people. This is what they said about the Polish out of Europe. You can have all the intelligentsia in the world in Polish, but if you have such ignorant masses, they'll just walk out on you. You see, it's personal too. You see, you can look at geopolitics. I will say the truth. You can look at geopolitics. You can look at the timeline of history. You can look at everything. You can look at the banks being owned by the Chinese, whatever. You having a moment in time where you have this Che Guevara Piłsudski wannabe. Okay, that's understandable too. You're paranoid about the Russians being so strong. They're stronger than the Soviet Union now. Look at Ukraine, it's worse than Grozny. Look at Hungary, it's right up the ass of Russia. Excuse me. You know, let's just say it for what it is. Correct. And the only problem is, they're your neighbors. And have been your neighbors for millennia. You cannot make enemies all the time. Good fences make good neighbors, I agree. But with the Russians, you have to be a little bit, they don't forget certain things. You see, the Russians are like this. And this is the reality of the Russians. If they know who you are, if they know what you did, if they feel, if they love, they will kill for you. They will kill for you! The Russians. If you start instead being a mentally retarded hater, without thinking, just indiscriminate hate, rather than discriminate, without thinking, they will kill you too. If a Russian distrusts you, learn one lesson in history. The majority of Russians are not like that because they don't love. They won't fall in love with your sorry ass. Okay? If they don't fall in love with your sorry ass, or they don't trust you, you're over. You're kaput. If, on the other hand, they know your fucking ass, they like you, they trust you, they love you, you're over. Because they will defend till the end of existence what they believe is correct. The same with the Brits, the same with the Italians, the same with the Turks, and the same with the Saudis. Now, Poland, I have one word of advice to you. You didn't want to do the work in Italy with me. The brother of the mother, all right, was the director of Warsaw University for 60 years. The lands are 3 counties under their names in Warsaw and the east part of Poland. They have been part of Poland for a long time. You behaved like animals because if the Italian universities in La Sapienza crashed with me in St. George's, yes, that annex on the 1st, 2nd, and 5th floor, then you in St. George's, and it's still crashing with me because the bag is going mongoloid, because if you kill something and you phoenix it for doves and it's elf, it's not going to come back in a shiny format. It's going to go boo-boo dark ass. Welcome to doves. If they can come back from the dead as phoenixes. Now, how that happened, don't ask. As I keep saying, must have been a strong intel, whether it was in the UN, or those corporations or other places, that saw it coming in St. George's and covered themselves that way. Okay? Same with Elon Musk in South Africa, Mozambique. That's what it is, where I grew up. That's it. That's the little fingers. You don't need a genius and the 70 countries and 30 states to make that piece of paper famous with all the emptiness it left behind around the world when it died, you bitch. In Lubsko, or Poland, or anywhere. So what they were showing in stupid times, schools, if you can call them even schools in Woolwich, is that for 2 high schools, this girl was flyings and runnings with a Glock and doing her shit. Then she got that piece of paper, died. Okay? Phoenix baby. And there was emptinesses all over the world because of that. Still, they had these lookalikes and replicants. In other words, bacterias. In other words, the emptinesses are going to get emptier and emptier and emptier worldwide forever and ever. And nobody's going to be able to change that because there's no eyebrows, there's crashes. Crashes in Italy, in La Sapienza, since childhood, in Woolwich, in Essa, and in Nassau, which makes you feel very happy in Poland because you're like, fuck the Americans. But we love the Americans. Oh, I love America. I love Germany. I love Britain. In other words, you're just a bunch of assholes. And that's what they see. And bitches. So, if, you see, I had 7 passports and a UN ID when I was born in Rome. Before going to Hookersat, Graft City, becoming Genetic Graft City in New Hampshire. All right? The British national insurance number, whatever, you see, when I had the Brit schools, and they were free, all right, elementary, primary schools, Ambrit, which was the middle school, the dead one, and the baby one, yeah, the Middle Earth, whatever you want to call it. Then we had the high school between the ages of 13 and 15, which was that pink St. Stephen's schools where everybody knew about the senators, the president's kid. I'm like, for free, I'm like, getting out of here. You know, I like you guys, but quite frankly, you know, and I was young. I mean, I was a baby. Shit, between the age of 13 and 15, I was a baby. And I knew. Now, when I went to England, London, at 15, that wasn't nice. 16, that wasn't nice to me. The Woolwiches. Because it's like a slap in the face. I mean, how many fucking slaps in the face can you get in your life as a baby? Good Lord. And that's only for me. For the parents, that's on top of it, correct? Because they could already see St. George's. Like, they could already see my death in St. George's High School, in La Sapienza, in Rome, in the universities, in the UN, everywhere, in St. George's. They could see it, because that's intelligentsia. And the same in Woolwich. When I was 15, 16. So, that's strange in itself. All right. Now, in Hookersat, I had a job. All right. Had nothing to do with the Polish, as you know. And I was doing my shit. All right. But you lost intelligence because in Italy, you could have easily sent your beautiful Polish intelligentsia to the UN to crash with the beautiful Italian intelligentsia in La Sapienza or the universities in Italy. But you didn't. You kept your Polish in Warsaw. And I was born in 1976, 20 July. So if I have La Sapienza at the age of 5 up my ass in St. George's, and I have the Tiziano Vian and the police dragging me to La Sapienza Annex of Sciences on the 1st, 2nd, and 5th floors and saying to me, do you know what you did? I'm dead. Reminding you. The news corporations doing the same, reminding you. And I'm the one running away from them. They're not forgetting. Even with that piece of paper. Why? Is it the forevers and evers emptinesses? Yeah. Is it the I crashed with your sorry ass and that shit's empty? Yes. Yes, that's the dead person. Welcome, Poland. So don't, when you see what the UN is showing, what the Italians are showing, what the Europeans are showing, what the English, British, Woolwichers are showing, what the Americans are showing, what the Southeast Asians are showing, the Africans, the South Americans, the Russians, the Turks, the Saudis, the Egypt. What the fuck? And that was only 2 high schools and stupid times in Italy and the UN for me. For the first time in my existences, this little version of me, it's what they call Madame Tussauds baby statue, call it whatever we want, snail, whatever. scout, babies, whatever, had an easy life. It's not that I didn't enjoy being a hedonist, but boy, oh boy, it took a long time for me to accept that, even as an angel's child. I mean, they were literally throwing sweets on my face without the teeth. When I was 5, the police would come to the schools and throw bucket loads of sweets on my face, the Italians. I can't watch this shit, the pain. And that was only my pain. Can you imagine for the parents? That went ballistics. So, that's what they're showing. Okay. So, if you are flyings many times on 92 and above, and the back for DOJs, they accept that 92 and above only. I did the work elsewhere. Everything's ready on the coastlines. Everybody happy. Correct? And happy, not happy. Chinaman, no. Happy. Normal. Acceptable. Tolerable. Okay, fine. No problemo. You know, that's it. All right. Again. On 85. Now you see the problems. On 85, what happened was they could already see me dying. Both in Italy with the La Sapienza crowds and the intelligences in the UN and Woolwich. Okay? And Hooker said. So they prepared for what they call the crash. The empty buildings, the lack of eyebrows, all right? The inner circle, lookalikes, and all that shit. They're prepared for the crash. And that intelligence was known exactly for July 20th space. And it was known for the records in science. Unfortunately, I wasn't lunar. No. I wasn't lunar. My intelligence had broke true space, not the moon. Now, Armstrong was the first man to land on the moon on July the 20th, and he was an American. So, historically speaking, he was the first to do something in outer space, and he was American. That's what July 20th signifies, or shall I say, means. As in Greenwich Mean Time Woolwiches. And that's how you disregarded me in Poland. For pure jealousy reasons. Pure, famous, on TVs, on 70 countries and 30 states, to the face of a little child with no teeth in genetic freak schools. And no teeth. With a Delft Pessel from New England. That old news is old news. And we're still hashing it up, rehashing it up. And that's what made you angry in Poland. It's famous. What are we going to do about that? Just for the baby. You don't care. And you showed that by the behavior of a psychopath following me. You showed that by the behaviors of how you treated me alone. Because you didn't crash with me in Italy. You're too intelligent for the Italian intelligentsia, Poland. You're too intelligent for the British MI5. You're too intelligent for the big CIA Nobel Prizes, Peter Binev and CIA generals, aren't you, Piskovsky? Am I correct? So the reason my death became famous when I got that piece of paper Delft is because of this. Personal jealousy from the Polish, stupidity, and the same in the US. The only difference, and it was a very big difference. In fact, I wouldn't even call it a difference. The work was in the US on the coastlines in Hooker. So that was real crashes. Those were the crashes. Those were the crashes. The Italians prepared, the Brits prepared, the others prepared, the UN prepared for our crashes. My death, literally. The lack of eyebrows in La Sapienza, those guys falling, da-da-da-da. That girl's gonna die. That was St. George's. Now, the work on the coastlines was even worse. Because not that I'm there flying, the records are flying, the sciences, I'll do nothing. I'll do something. Correct? On the coastlines. There goes Southeast Asia. I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't a Pacific person, I'll tell you that. I ain't started out Pacific. I ain't Pacific. I'm fiery. I'm the lost children. Lost lookalikes in Saudi, Turk, Russia. Lost lookalikes in Woolwich and lost lookalikes in the UN. Taken. Never to be seen again, unless from a distance, as we would say, Pan's Labyrinth. Whew. And that's why Mel Gibson always called himself, I'm the twin. And I know you don't like Hollywood. I am the twin. He was saying, I'm the twin. That's why the triads had 8 twins, and he was my boyfriend. All right? That's why in Rome, the Vietnamese and the others at the age of 5 on the 5th floor used to say to me, you have twins. All right? And as a child, I saw hate coming from Poland for that alone. Because everybody else in the United Nations and the Italian intelligentsia was crashing with me in La Sapienza since St. George's, while the Polish were sitting on their fat ass doing nothing. All right. That's what we call jealousy. That's what they were talking about for me alone, colloquially. So I'm not going to rehash what's famous around the world because I'm dead. I'm telling you the storyline of me. And that's not including unheard of big but DOJ parents on retirements in Fresno County. So, the mother worked as a directorate in USAID in D.C. My father as a directorate for relief services in D.C. He was in D.C. all the time. And so was Ma. They both were directorates in over 200 countries and counting. That was their work. In other words, while your fat asses in Poland sat there and spoke about how great your men are and how great your women are, my father and my mother had been to over 200 countries. Dropping medicine, dropping water, dropping tents, malaria tents, you name it. Him in over 200 countries. She in 140. And while you were sitting there and pumping, your goddamn motherfucker, I went to Harvard, I went to fucking here, I went to fucking there. I published this, I published that. I'm sitting there as a dead baby going, I don't like this. In 70 countries and 30 states. What the Del Peso? You're full of shit. And you speak about Fresno Capital and collective jealousies. Look at yourselves in Poland. You can't even get along between neighborhoods. You speak about foreign policy, financial times, energy. In Poland, they don't even have one area that gets along with each other. Shit. And you speak about all your neighbors. All right. So this is why it became famous. It didn't become famous because the Polish didn't help. It became famous because of Fresno County et al.'s, the retirements of both parents. Because if you're running on 92 and above, many times, I'm seeing something here. Unheard the big fat DOJs. Then you do it on 85, correct? Running with the Glocks, never having time to ship piss or fat or anything around those intercontinental shelves. You're still doing your job on the coastlines. You're still doing the internal shit. Yet, you're obsessed in your head because you already know you're going to die with your shit that you're doing. You don't want to die, but what's in your mind? You're already prepared to fall with the La Sapienza. They already prepared to fall with the Woolwichers. The whole shit has no eyebrows. In Rome, in Italy, in the UN, in Woolwich, everywhere the fuck shit is like it. Cerola. You have a problem with the baby telling you the story of herself? Go check yourself out in a psych ward, bitch. Take a chill pill yourself. And stop flinging shit at me in Poland. So, that's what happened. All right? And so they showed it. The Italians showed it, the Europeans showed it, the Brits in London showed it, the other countries, the big countries, the Russian Federation showed it, Turk showed it, Saudi showed it. I'm sorry, yeah. The US showed it, you know. The big deal, oh my God, having 2 heart attacks on the spot, motherfucker. You know, it's just too much. And then you have locally there, in San Francisco, Pow Pow. So who's Pow Pow? It's the local shit. All right. Now, the triads don't have a high school. Okay. They're still CIA for me. You understand? So somebody who, you see, Tria is not the Supreme Court, Pow Pow, next door. You cannot be mentally retarded in Poland. Okay. So we did it correctly. They accepted 92 and above only. They didn't even accept 85 and above. Anyway. The schools in Rome and Woolwich and the other countries and everyone knew almost all the details of who Fresno County is and what is happening. Now they have so many details that I have the cats and dogs around the world barking about this shit and going around in circles. So when they say that I'm Dr. Doolittle, I don't think they're fucking joking. You know? I'm talking to the animals here on Facebook. All right. Maybe not all of you are cats or dogs, but you know what I'm saying? The idea of Facebook, it's out there. It's not, Madame Tussauds, hello. I'm out there, Madame Tussauds. And why do they call me Madame Tussauds in Italy or in England or in Europe or around the world? Why do they call me the statue? Why do they call me the baby, the indios, the see-through freak? You know, I'm not female. I'm just a freak whore. You know, genetic freak. They never called me a whore. That's for sure. Only the Polish did. That's nice. And the Fresno County dolls. So, the intelligence basically decided to show that about the Polish. All right. Whether it was European intelligence that sided with me, or British, or Italian, or other countries. Even within the CIA after my death, there was Peter Benev and the CIA generals, not fucking Peskovsky, who said that within the US, even as a ghost of myself, my enemies would have 1 day and 1 night pains without me even fucking being intel. For the Morganists. For the Barons, the pains were 4 days and 4 nights of George's pains. Okay? So, the big fat DOJs. The intelligence gave the enemies of the Barons 4 days and 4 nights pains. That's it. And they had all the defense on the planet. Now, if you go to England, Colin Hills, for instance, there's this bench. It's a bench. Hanging from Colin Hills, how many times on Crawley's office. All the campuses of Woolwich, all of them, all right, have benches hanging out, which is, to me, quite scary. Right? So for a long time, and I am a little, how can I put it? My brain can't register every goddamn detail that I see all over these places because it make me crazy for 20 years on retirement. And because it happened so many times on Crawleys, my literal Crawleys, and before, as in real Crawleys and literal Crawleys. Let's put it that way. Or unreal, but you get what I'm saying. The homeless days, like, for instance. You cannot, you see, I was never really good with languages. I'll give it that. I could speak 5-6 languages, but I didn't like talking, Languages are like a staple when you travel. But I wasn't like into languages because I didn't have time for languages. Like when I was in Mozambique and I was like, I think I started talking when I was 3 months old. I mean, the people in Mozambique and South Africa are like, my goodness, you're still talking like little baby. When I got to the age of 3 or 4, I was already talking like 4 or 5 languages fluently. And I forgot 3 of those languages. I forgot the local language. I forgot Portuguese. I forgot many of my childhood languages. I just forgot them when I came back to Italy at the age of 5. Okay? Because at the age of 5, we came back to Italy. And I just forgot. Yeah. Then I started learning Italian and French and all the other languages. Yeah. Tried to learn some of the other languages. In other words, languages were not a problem for me. It's not that I'm there, bragging about that. That's a staple, speaking 5 languages. It's like, okay, it's a file. Okay, you're there. Okay, you do all these things. Okay, you also have to speak 5 languages. That's it. It's not like, oh, look at me, I can do it. It's just, it's mentally retarded in Poland to keep boasting about this shit about languages. Do something else other than languages. Be famous for something else, correct? In other words, not for a Harvard scientific paper, Okay, you need a medical doctor. Give me all the fucking Valium on the planet. They refuse to give me the Valium, even in UCLA. For instance, when I was in Rome what was it? I think it was the first year and a half. I went to Rome. They gave me like 10 contracts. I pay, WFP even. Hey, man, I offer you Africa. I offer you Asia. I offer you South America. I offer. What did I do? I did the stunt from the Carlo Verdone movie, Italians. I shot myself in the house. I went out to Amedee. I said, Amedee, call Papa and call Mama. He said, they better come back here and stay in Rome for retirement. Said, leave Fresno Catedral. Oh, my goodness, get to the jet, yeah. And fair enough, she did. So, I went on what they call a hunger strike. And I had a constipation. And when I say constipation, I'm talking about constipation for about, anyway, so the ma comes and the firefighters come and say, I'm here. I said, where's Pa? Yeah, he's here. I said, no. Are you sure? Yeah, of course. Yeah, okay, open the door. No. Open the door. No. Open the door. No. Open the door. Of course, the firefighters throw down the door because that's a vilaya then. There's a Turk area in San Francisco that's called Villa Eden. Now, the first time I saw it, I thought they were Iranian or something, or some faction, maybe Kurds or something. And I had only seen one person from a distance, but it just looked a little bit too in your face, It's like, Papa. Then there was the Saudi area, also in your face. The Saudi area in San Francisco, another in your face. The Russian area, Soma, that's so in your face. You have no fucking idea how fucking in your face is the Russian area, Soma. So, they have areas in San Francisco like they have in New York and like they have in other cities, big cities and cosmopolitan cities around the world, That's all I'm saying, Lubsko. Or Warsaw, or Poland. Yeah. So, when I became this island, this nobody, this asswipe piece of this ghost, this angels, this usage thing, I used to start going to San Francisco to holding cells. Because, motherfucker, sometimes the coastline, sometimes these go. Now, it doesn't matter which one I go first to. No, they send me anyway. Even if I don't have the money, they send me. Shit, they'll even give me the cash to go there. Free. Including taking a plane to London or Warsaw anyway. It doesn't matter. Moscow, Rome, chat, they'll pay me money. In Russia, I'll give you an example. In Russia, when I'm walking down the street, hey, baby, come here, take the rubles. You know what to do. For mama and Baba, take. You know where to go. You got to tell them that shit. The assholes. I'm like, wait a second. You want me to refer what? And that's the people. I'm just giving you an example on the scrollies. I am giving you an example. Well, and in Woolwich in London, the same. I'm walking down the road in London. Ooh, the baby. That familiar. No. Come here. Get me the money. Give me the money. No, I can't use a taxi. I don't have the money. I don't give a shit. I'll pay you for the taxi. This is London on Crowley's. You want to go to New York? You want to try New York? Let's try New York. I go to New York. Excuse me. I need to see Robert Pavlovsky's house at Jackson Heights, Queens. Oh, more than butterfly. No, this is much more than butterfly. I know. Come here. Do you know how to get there? Yeah, I need to. Do you have the money for the ticket? I have the money. Hey, the blacks, the whites. Hey, I gave you $2. Look, take. This is what I have been going through or Crawley's that many times for 20 years and more. Crying out of Fresno Cats and Dogs with a shootout. Man, Cowboy Western. Ambry. It's not that I didn't trust the people. There are normal people and there are fucking bitches. Now Poland, it seems to be crawling with them. Assholes. After what I saw with Red Faith, Grabsky, and Burgundy. The fuck? And then they speak about, shit, that girl is in pieces. Coming out of Fresno Cats and Dogs. What the fuck? Then you need to have the carroceria to lift my ass out of Fresno. Then you have 4 years. 4 years again with the laptops, with the cement trucks for both parents. God, I've been seeing those fucking cement trucks for some time already. Everywhere. Yeah, for both parents. I'm going nuts. If I didn't see the ginger lady, I might have gone nuts too. Why? Because if you see that many intel officers in uniforms on the East Coast or in Russia, the other countries, Cairo, I ain't going to speak about Rome or London. I'm just not going to speak about Woolwich or Rome because I think you already know. And yeah, it's to mention people too. And obviously the same Scott Glenn movie, Man on Fire for the Baby. Yeah, no, you got they say it's only briberies and opportunists in Rome for the retirement. Do it! Ca figuraccia de merda in Poland. A figuraccia de merda in Fresno Cats and Dogs. And when I say figuraccia de merda in Fresno Cats and Dogs, that is so fucked up, cheap, and crazy that they want to literally bomb the entire area. You'll be lucky if you get only Havana. And the U.S. included. Shall we have Canada going on? And why? You cannot be such a bunch of callous motherfuckers sitting there and watching this shit and enjoying the show. That's evil in itself. And then you judge this shit in Poland? Like, and what are you famous for? For your life or for your piece of paper death? Agrashu, lookalikes. What are you famous for? Emptying the whole fucking world of so much shit? Academically, boy? Or the work on the coastline. Or this, or that, or that, or that. Ma scusami, what are you famous for? Asswipe. And that's not mentioning on her the Bigfoot family on top of that. Ma cazzo vuoi? Oh, that's art in Poland. And that's why the Polish are angry. They're angry that it's so famous. They can't get to grips with the fact that they can't be bitches and assholes to me because it's famous. Well, what the fuck? She's a piece of shit. I'm not a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. And they're making that obvious. I don't give a shit if I'm a little dog barking in the East Coast, the West Coast, San Fran, London, Rome, Warsaw Internationals, Russia, Cairo, Saudi. I'm sick of those little dogs. Napoleon's complex, that's me. God, so what the fuck is even Southeast Asia? Oh, shit. We're sick of it. We're doing. A man of fire is called Glenn, and they're staying in row for retirements. That, yes. And when they say fuck Hollywood, they're not saying literally fuck Hollywood. They say fuck Hollywood and Fresno Castellanos. Oh, Madonna mia. For the retirement. Okay. They're running everything. They're running the universe in Fresno Castellanos. They're not the geographical center of California. The geographical center of California is Norfolk, which is coarse gold, which is dirty gold. Delft. And as for the Ubereri Mountains and Mono Indios, sure, they have a volcano going there since July 2017, according to the USGS, Miss Manga. No, that's a Japanese comedy porno with the octopuses. No. Ugh. Mangan. She's the director of the USGS. She went on July 2017. I gotta say that the Mono Indios, which is 20 kilometers from Fresno Castellanos, has the most active volcano on the planet. Now, if you want to go lowlands and wait for that shit to blow, it ain't gonna happen. Ivo van der Graaf, Netherlands. It's just not gonna happen, New Hampshire. Sorry. I mean, we can wait for that, but, realistically speaking, get it? You get the joke from me? The lowlands? So, I didn't do geology. The Delft vessel was doing something else. I don't know exactly what it was famous for in La Sapienza or in other universities around the world. I also don't know what it did in Intel. I do not know what kind of space records or what kind of, later on, the St. George's science records it did, other than the corporations and the UN that were also in Woolwich. I don't know about the coastline work because I've never been near the Navy or anything on the coastlines. I don't know anything about anything. I never met any of these people. I don't know the names of these people because the names change all the time. For instance, you have Mr. Shakespeare's, you have David Pinecoffin. The names change on a regular basis. There's Ovidius Caccavale, which is in high school and sophomore year, who would say Ovidius Shitworth. Of course, in junior year, his name was Douglas Welsh. And in senior year, when I was 15 years old and graduated to go to England at 15, his name was Douglas Walsh. Now, of course, he was a New York cop. A cute thing. He was the only guy who talked to me in high school. In fact, I was such a bitch to everybody that you have no idea, even with Gabor. I was a bitch to Gabor. You see, my parents said that to me. They said to me, listen, man, he's your best friend by now. He's your soulmate. Why the fuck? He don't even have no eyebrow. You may work with all the others and stuff, but let's say it. Oh, that guy did baby you. You could have had sex with him. Rather than with Heine or with Tria. I mean, Tria is 65. I'm not saying nothing here, Paul Vang is okay. You want to go with him, for 1 year, now it's 6 years, you go ahead. You want to go hang out with 8 twins, you go ahead. You want the older guy, okay. He wants you, okay, that's okay. No problem. I'm just saying, darling, Hey, guy. Hey. And Gabor was always a good boy. you see. But he really, truly was one of those guys who was capable of waverling the entire London and more, which he did. And he was just one of those guys that after some time, when he saw my death and said, well, darling, you are better than me. You were doing other things in St. George's. But I was here because I do Prisoner's Dilemma. And I'm the Lowlands. In other words, old news on the news, from me alone. My ex-colleagues also thought that George was not my type of man. George O'Connor, for the McGannachisti et al. Were not exactly the ones I was enamored with. You see, if you love somebody, like Papa loved Mama, and Mama loved Papa, that's okay. Having said that, I was on 2 high schools in Little Lee for the personal history form. For me too. Except that's only personal history form. And more. Directorates in DC and the UN, huh? Flyings in over 200 countries and 140 countries, saving the world. Nice retirements. I don't think so. I don't give a shit. Because, you see, jealousy goes a long way. Yes, it does. The mind goes an even long way. Why? Why doesn't her the Bigfoot DOJs go an even longer way? A long way, so far away that nobody can touch. And stupid times. And if you do, you die. Why does the laptops of those big guys, those giants, those gigants, I don't like ticks, sorry, of those guys go so far for the parents that nobody, you dare go near that family. I could be a clone of myself. I could be a vegetable with no teeth and a piece of paper towel. I'd kill your ass myself if I could. Unfortunately, I can't. Not anymore. Having said that, correctly, properly, could still do Havana. Ages ago. If you look at what was sent by Woolwich by extension, which I don't believe, Rome even, this is the thing that scares me. You see, this is where my true paranoia comes in. Not the one for health, trust me. The other one. The paranoia for the parents. The freak out, okay? And more than freak out, trust me. Is that they were sending, and the rotations. The rotations in Fresno Capital, not only of the locals that can't take that shit no more for ages, which I didn't even see. You see, this is it. The rotations from England, from Rome, from the other countries, from this. Okay, I'll give you an example. There's a Kuwaiti guy in Fresno Countertops who owns a sandwich shop somewhere. We used to go there all the time. Got his aunt or something, or mom or something. They don't even live there. Okay, we used to go there. I used to buy the sandwiches for the parents, bring them home. They don't eat them there. And this is the scary part. Okay. He's Kuwaiti, not Saudi. And he owns a coffee shop right in front, close to 5 minutes from Termini, 2 minutes walk from La Sapienza University. He owns it. So, at La Sapienza University, may I add, assholes, there was the Malaysian, Tunisian guys, managers, Russians, others. There were so many. Russian cleaner who looked like a photocopy of Tatiana, who was the choreographer wife of Misha Klimenko. No, I'm not speaking about Antonella Guarnera. I'm not speaking about Eur. I'm not speaking about Flamingo. I'm speaking about Misha Klimenko. Jim. In case you missed it so many times on 85, because we could see even the girl dying. And in case you think we didn't know about Fresno County Towels for the retirements of the parents. On the East Coast, in Saffron, locally Pow Pow, somewhere in the kaboots that even I can't find, on the coastlines, Woolwich, Bike State, Madonna mia, I don't believe it. Hi, girlies. Rome and their countries. You are a heap of cheap shit, officially. I don't give a shit if I'm going to say it this way anymore. Because if I'm not myself and I got no teeth, and you treat, and I'm the same I was before, except I have a very fat ass, and I've been dropping with my friends through, I have literally crashed. So, the Dove National ID. I don't give a shit who's the president. I don't give a shit who's Putin. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if you're the Queen of England. No, actually, I do. I don't give a shit if you're the Queen of Amsterdam. In other words, we don't give a shit for that, guys. As much as we like the queens and the kings and everything, of course, they're just, you know what I'm saying. We're just saying, what kind of malarkey de merda is coming out of Fresno County Towels? That's not even malarkey. That's not even baloney. That's not even bullshit. You caused an enormous problem for the whole world, Fresno County Towels. And you don't need a retard on a wheelchair to tell you that either, as a messenger. I don't think I'd even be able to give out that message by now, because I don't exist. Shit. In other words, these useless look-alike inner circles, these bombs and these empty buildings worldwide are not good. Yes, as they were saying, Count. Bad news is coming. Oh, troublemaker. I'm the troublemaker. You, darling, have emptified everything. And I'm not going to talk about that. Because you died, bitch. Okay. Then what am I? Oh, you are some... what? Oh, Lord. Which I think when they put this... Oh, yeah, Madame Tussauds. Something like that. It's indignant. The amount of bullshit. Then they say, I don't believe you shit. Really? With that familiar face? Anywhere I go on the planet, they know who I am. That's pathetic. So, let's do this Man of Fire Scott Glenn thing. Because we're getting sick of it. And I'm not saying fuck him, because he's Hollywood. Okay? They're saying Ad Astra. Okay? They're saying, taking this. They're flinging the names. Just colloquially on the streets now. Yeah, we're not speaking about the inter-community. Yeah, that's it. We're speaking about the people. The people, and they say, fuck Hollywood and fuck this. And fuck. I can't take it. Yep, I give an example. I went to San Francisco. They take this bus to this beautiful, ritzy place. I was Hollywood Avenue. But I went into the shop. I bought something. I ate something. I don't know, fucking Hollywood. I'm talking to myself. I don't like this Hollywood thing. The motel owner comes out and says, she calls the firefighter. He's a black guy with his left hand. He goes slam dunker. He goes in. He says, fuck it. The next day, I'm looking at the San Francisco Chronicle, which is a free newspaper in San Francisco if you look for it. I looked at it and says, oh, that motel burned down. The entire Hollywood Avenue over there. I said, who sent me there anyway? And everyone's looking at me like, on the streets. In other words, you better watch out, mademoiselles. You are instigating stupidity. And when you instigate that many times with that kind of intelligence being sent, stupidity, you pay. And the emptier buildings are only going to get emptier and emptier and emptier and emptier with that ass. Me. Now, how it happened, I don't know. Okay? Same with ESA and NASA with the whiter hairs. Good luck. That's what I used to do in Nevada and Arizona. But I was more into coastline work. Yeah, unfortunately. The Marines. Was. Of course, I still hang out on the coastline sometimes. Around the world and vomits for myself. But, baby out. And so now you see. Okay. Now, when they got the mother out from Fresno to Poland, they had already predicted what was going to happen. They already knew that we were going to win the rule of law. They already knew, of course, with all those laptops on 85. And in Woolwich and in Rome and in Italy and Interpol and the Russians and the Americans and then heard about the DOJs with the parents that meant dance against Fresno County dolls. So when I started the crawling phase of my useless existence with that piece of paper towel on retirements, I knew that, she maybe, we'll get her out. And when she does get out, she'll go straight to Moscow. So we beat the rule of law because they're having rule of law issues with Poland, the rule of extradition. She didn't need it. No, she didn't need it. And that's why she won so quickly. The thing that they were saying in Italy, and the thing they were saying in England, and Europe, and Russia, and others was, if the CIA gets her to Poland, then why the Polish didn't show her to the families in Poland or Russia? That was what they were saying. Okay? Because by doing that, the Polish paid even more with the rule of law. You see? So it doesn't take a genius in kindergarten global to tell you that by now. Okay? And it shows you why. All right? These are people who know. Because if you get the mother to Poland, you show her to the family. You can even say the Russians want her because of the rule of extradition. So you bring her to Russia and then we can see her. And everybody knows what's happened. Like they can touch the mother. Poland pays with the rule of law for putting her through that quickly. And they get to see the mother. The Russians are happy. Everyone's happy. Instead, they showed hatred towards everybody. The rule of law, they show hatred towards Netherlands, towards the Germans, towards the Brits, towards the Italians, Kindergarten Global, who crashed with me in La Sapienza. They showed the hatred. Yes, they show hatred to the Italians who knew the mother, who worked as a USA director for 40 years. And they showed, and that's it. That in itself shows a very ugly side of Polish behavior. Because if the intelligence communities could do that and get her to Moscow, that they could have showed her. By not showing her to the in Poland to the family and just directly taking her to Moscow, you know what that showed about the Polish? To the Americans? or to the rule of law crowd, or Article 7, or rule of extradition crowd in the European Union, in Brussels, or in London, or in Italy, or in the UN, or in DC? What did it show after so many times? 92 and above. We're not even accepting 85 and above. This is famous, Poland. And if Lubsko takes personal offense to this, I don't give a shit!